So these gals were all really excited to see a flock block replaced in here. So what's in a flock block? Basically, it's a nutritional supplement. So it could be seeds and grains binded together with molasses. And in the case of these, we use Kalmbach Hen House Reserve. They also have ingredients that Kalmbach calls yolk crowd, and I think Lifeguard is the other one. So we'll show you that on the label when we look at the packaged one again. But yolk crowd is basically flour and veggie extracts, and the purpose of it is to enhance rich color in the egg yolk. And then Lifeguard is a Kalmbach proprietary formula that is in the ingredients that puffy cheeks, that is basically featuring prebiotics and probiotics to help with optimal gut health in your chicken. So nice to see that we've got a few eggs over there. And the Kalmbach ones, this one's just Hen House Reserve plain. They also offer seasonal flavors occasionally, like lavender, candy apple, pumpkin spice, so some different options. But the flock block itself is a hard treat, and it's meant for them to peck at, and it's meant to take some strong pecking for them to get the pieces of the goodies off of the flock block. And actually, that's the very reason that we really like to use these. We have hens that basically stay in a coop. They have access to outdoor runs unrestricted all the time, just like through that opening. It's never closed. So they can go outside anytime at all that they want to, but they don't really get to free range. So for us, we like the behavior enrichment aspect of the flock block because it gives them something to peck at. And chickens are really naturally very, very curious. In fact, really, I don't want to say excessive. I was going to say excessive curiosity is really kind of an indicator of well-being in your chicken. You can see they're already making a dent right here in it. So curiosity is a natural part of chickenness. So when we put the flock block in, these gals are familiar with it, and they go right to it. If your chickens aren't familiar with it, they may be standoffish from it for a while, but once curiosity gets the best of them, they want to go check it out, and then they'll start to peck at it. And once they recognize pecking at it gets them the reward of a treat off of it, they'll continue to direct their pecking behavior at that block, which is great because it kind of diverts it from them directing the pecking behavior at one another oftentimes. There's a nice egg. So I just fed our girls in here their regular feed ration, and I wanted to actually show y'all this because one criticism of flock blocks, which is a criticism potentially of any kind of chicken treat, is that people worry about if they use a flock block, will the chickens like the flock block so much that it takes them off of their feed. So I wanted to show you that in our experience, we've not ever had that be an issue. By providing them with flock blocks, it's never caused us a problem with the hens still eating their regular feed ration. Now I've heard people say that they've had an opposite experience. I have heard people say, well, we gave them flock blocks and we gave them treats, and then they wouldn't eat their feed ration and they went off their feed ration. Honestly, that has never been our experience. But if you are given, for example, a flock block, then I wouldn't give any other treats. And if you are given other treats, then I wouldn't give a flock block. Because if we do overdo it on supplements and treats, there is kind of a threshold where at some point they're going to fill up. So if they choose to fill up on other stuff, they are going to leave their feed. But I just wanted to give you actual visual reference that the chickens here, and our experience, this is consistent with it, they still want their feed, even if they have a flock block present. We have not had a problem with giving the chickens a flock block and that causing them to reject their regular feed. And also want to mention here, you never ever want to rely on any kind of treats or any kind of supplements or flock blocks specifically to be the sole ration for your chickens. And that's the same for any livestock or any pets. Supplements and treats are not complete nutrition. So whether your hens are in a hen house situation and all of their nutrition needs to come from a complete ration, or whether your chickens are outdoors free ranging, you want to keep in mind complete nutrition and their total ration. And you really don't want supplements and treats to exceed more than 10% of that total that they consume. So it can be hard to quantify that, but for us, we base their feed ration on a 1/4 pound of feed per day per hen. And then with the flock block in here, we probably aren't going to give them any other kind of treats. And when the weather's better and they can be outside, they do get out on grass some, but we keep in mind that their complete feed is coming from their feed ration. And then this is just a bonus that, as I said initially, for us, we really like to provide the flock block for giving them the outlet for the pecking behavior. And we pick out one that we feel is a great nutritional supplement as well, and that does contribute to good nutritional intake for them. Another tip with any kind of snacks, any kind of treats and flock blocks, and this tip is universal for livestock and for pets. Always make sure there's fresh, clean water that is accessible to them. In the winter, try to make sure it's not frozen. Try to make sure if they don't have constant water, try to make sure they're getting very frequent access to water. In the hot times of the year, when the weather is very warm, try to make sure that the water is not getting stagnant, not attracting flies. Make sure that they are drinking the quantity that is made available to them. Okay, so we're going to go look back at the flock block label again that we're using, talk about the price points that we generally see it at, where we like to source it from, and then we'll actually put the other flock block in for our other group of laying hens. Okay, so I've seen lots of brands of flock blocks, lots of price points. This is the one we're using, even from this producer, Kalmbach Feeds, made in Ohio, family-owned business. Even from that company, there's a variety of options on flock blocks. I already mentioned this kind is made with Yolk Proud, and that features extracts from veggies and fruits that are intended to enhance yolk color in the egg. And then the Lifeguard for poultry is proprietary nutrients that is a Kalmbach formula that features the probiotics, prebiotics. So you can look up information on all that. Other brands make flock blocks too. I'm sure the ingredients can vary brand to brand. Want to give you a close up here on the ingredients. So you can there's the ingredients and the feeding directions. So you could press pause and hover on that and kind of check it out if you want to. And then one to close up on the guaranteed analysis. So again, you could press pause and hover on that if you want to check it out. So you can see this one's a 11% crude protein. And I've seen one by Kalmbach that I think is a 9% crude protein. What we're feeding our hens for a complete ration is more like a 16% crude protein. And so this is just intended to be something that augments their behavioral desire to peck at something, and it also gives them good nutritional intake that's just like a treat, that's just a supplement. Now, a cool tip, we'll tell you where we could source them and price points we've seen them at, but while I'm thinking of it, a cool tip that I've seen, so you saw ours in the hen house, we just put it right down on the hen house floor and it stays in there. And our chickens are familiar with them, so they steadily and continually work at pecking at it, and they eat it down. And it doesn't go super fast, inordinately fast, because they're relying on their feed ration for their nutrition, but they eat it up. It's not just sitting there. I have seen and read a suggestion where if you don't want to put the feed block, the treat block, right on the coop floor, or if your chickens are outside and you want to give them a treat block, but you don't really want to put it on the ground. And I wouldn't want to put it on the ground outside either, because it starts out hard, but you take the plastic packaging off, it's going to draw moisture, and the air around it and any moisture around it is going to impact it. And so if it gets too much moisture, you could have problems with it crumbling, with it disintegrating. I've never seen one mold or mildew, but potentially I guess that could be an issue if it's too wet. But I have seen people suggest to take a cookie sheet, something like a cookie sheet that you're okay with leaving out for the chickens, and put your treat block on the cookie sheet and set it out for them. And then if you want to pick it up at night, or if it's outside and the weather's going to turn bad, you want to pick it up and take it in, you can do that. And it's real easy to do it. You don't actually have to keep handling the block and have any crumbling coming off or whatever. You can just have it on the cookie pan and move it in and out, and then it's really easy to handle and move. And that is a great tip if you're setting it outside. A lot of people also prefer to do that in their hen house because they're concerned about it drawing rodents overnight while the hens are roosting and perching, and that block sitting there, they're concerned that could just be a buffet food source for rodents. So if they don't want to leave it in their hen house overnight and they have it on a cookie sheet, they can just pick it up, take it in, and then the next day when they feed their hens or their chickens, they can put it back out. So that is a good idea. That is a good idea. We just put ours on the coop floor though. So we want to talk about for a moment though, what kind of price points do we see and where could we get this? So let's go ahead. I'm going to unwrap this one and take it up to the other hen house, and we'll give it to them, and we'll mention where we get our blocks and the price points that we've seen them at. Thanks, y'all. Oh, there's a nice egg from one of our leghorns. We're going to gather that. Hey girls, there's some dust bathers. So we actually just put this flock block down for these girls. Just replaced it in here in their hen house. It's been probably a couple weeks since they had one, and you can see they're familiar with it. They like it. Oh my goodness, y'all. I literally just put my foot here, was going to take a step, but ended up stepping on that egg. Let me grab that one before we talk more about the block. There we go. Okay, great. So these gals are prepared to enjoy the flock block. Also going to go back here and get these eggs. Hold on just a moment. Here, gal. Before you sat there, why don't you let me get that? Come on. She's a little territorial. All right, hold on just a second. Okay, so I just had to ask her to leave with one hand and grab the eggs with the other. And since I only have two hands and not three, I had to pause there just a moment. So, okay, so wanted to talk a little bit more about this. So you can see these hens are familiar with it. They went right to it. We love using the flock blocks for boredom buster. So when you don't have a way for your chickens to use their natural chicken behaviors like scratching and pecking, things they would use in foraging, it's great to offer them a substitute that's enrichment for that. And when we don't have that, we can see other issues arise out of boredom. We could see chickens pecking at each other, picking on each other, picking tail feathers out of other birds. We can see chickens start to try to peck at eggs, break eggs, and then if they do that and they get a taste for that, that's a bad situation set up. So when we have something like this for our hens, that their options are basically being in their coop or going out to a run, and they don't free range all the time, it's nice for them to have this kind of enrichment. So we really, really like the flock blocks. They are hard. We've heard people say, well, they're too hard. The chickens can't get the ingredients out of them. They don't get anything from them. It stays too hard. We've never had that experience. We've never had that experience with the flock block. We have always found that the chickens are able to use their pecking behavior, and they're able to get the ingredients to break off, and they're able to consume from it. So really the flock block is just, grains and seeds and nuts possibly, and nutrient ingredients binded together, most likely with molasses, and the chickens can use their pecking behavior, which obviously you can see here they greatly enjoy. And you can, we'll rotate ours, like set it up, set it on its side as they eat at it, and they just love it. Look at her going there. Look at her going there. So they all we're real attentive to this one right now because they've been out of one for a while. So they're really grateful to have it. But remember, it's not their feed ration. So prices, so these Kalmbach in-house reserve flock blocks, we've seen them anywhere from $15 to $25. Different sources. I know they're available at online retailers like, for example, Chewy, Amazon, any online pet, livestock supply, poultry supply retailer, you can probably find them. But we want to encourage you, if you have a local feed store, brick and mortar, go there and see if they have them and at least see what the price point is. This is so funny. She'll probably change what she's doing. Let me see if I can get this chicken. As I'm talking, this chicken was here. She was eyeing the camera. So anyway, but go to those brick and mortar feed stores and see if you can find some flock blocks there and find the price point. I'm just sitting here petting my chickens as I'm talking to you. So we prefer to get ours. I'm going to shout out here to Beverly Feed and Supply in Beverly, Ohio. That's where we get our flock blocks from, and they offer a great price point. It's a better price point than we see online or see at chain retailers. So always check your local retailers, brick and mortar stores, and like in our case, Beverly Feed and Equipment, they're awesome. We pretty much source all of our chicken supply through them and network with them and work with them year round, and we couldn't do what we do in our small poultry operation without working with them. They're that big a help to us, and that is a family owned, independently operated, not a chain, been in the community for decades. So really great to have access to that. And just like these flock blocks, we find that they have the best price point on them, even compared to large retailers that we would find online or chain stores. So check with your local folks. At least give them a chance to match or beat the price point you're finding online or from big stores. So at any rate, so $20 to $25 is probably what you're going to find those at. We get actually a lower price point buying local at Beverly Feed and Supply than we would otherwise. So anything else I want to tell you about the flock blocks? Those are 25 pounds, and that can be heavy to carry and handle. So if you want something smaller, I've seen 20-pound flock blocks. You probably could also make a flock block. You could online research some ingredients and a recipe and make your own. We've even had viewers on here in comments different times give us a rundown of a recipe and a process that they use to make their own flock blocks, and then you could make them whatever size you want, and that might be kind of fun too for your chickens. So those are other thoughts on that, but those were 25 pound, and that's going to last them anywhere 3 to 4 weeks possibly, because most of the time they're eating their feed ration. So we know that's something that about once a month we're treating each hen house to here at our place. Okay, and so just wanted to show you another instance here of where the chickens, in our experience, have never rejected their feed simply because of having a flock block. So we've just put in this flock's feed ration after showing you them enjoying their flock block, and as soon as we put in the feed ration, basically all of the chickens were interested in going to the feed. So they'll go to the feed, and the nice thing again about the flock block is it's another food station, even though it's a supplement. So if a hen gets kind of shoved out at the feeding station, she may come over here and get a few nibbles off of this, and then by the time she goes back to the feeding station, another hen may be done there. So it kind of helps when you have multiple feeding stations. It kind of helps spread out the competition, and you want to size your feeding stations obviously according to the number of hens you have. But when we put the treat block in, instead of like something over there, if a hen gets shoved out, instead of that escalating into a pecking match, one of them may just come over here to the flock block. And while we were recording, she's left now, but one went into the corner and laid another egg. So that's why that hen wanted in there when I gathered those 2 eggs just now.